Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Before we officially begin, I do want to point out to the audience that we welcome questions. Please post your questions in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen, and we will address those questions at the end of today's presentation. So I'd now like to turn this over to Hamad Rayanfard, who is the Director of Business Development for Polaris. Hamad, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Very nice to meet all attendees. This is Hamad Rehanford as the Director of Business Development, and my colleague, Dr. John Bomilowski, as the Executive Vice President of Medical Affairs. So let us share my screen. Okay, can you please see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So today we're going to walk you through about Polaris Pharmaceuticals, our business unit for oncology drug and peptide therapeutics, and a little bit about mechanism of action of our oncology new drug development called ADI-PEG20, about GLP-1 peptide drugs, and the pipeline, and then investment and financial perspective. So Polaris Group, as a quick snapshot, is the company that is a public in Taiwan Stock Exchange, and we have two business units: oncology innovative drug that is coming with ADI-PEG20, and recently we get the approval for brand name called Adzodi with some multiple indications. And also second business unit is peptides, generic, synthesized and semi-synthesized molecules like semaglutide, teriparatide, liraglutide, and tirzepatide. And we have many other products in our pipeline. Regarding the company that right now the focus will be on ADI-PEG and our drug that we will walk you through more in details. Our platform, ADI-PEG20, is a fully in-house development platform as an origin and degradation. And so far, more than 1,700 patients treated with ADI-PEG20. And we have all fully proprietary as a state-of-the-art manufacturing facility in Vacaville out of San Francisco. In our pipeline, we have one BLA submitted to FDA, 6 ongoing clinical trials, 5 tumor type in clinical, 2 fast track designation, and 3 orphan drug designation. And we have more than 60 US international patents already registered and filed, and we have more than 500 employed globally. And regarding the partners and collaboration, we have a NIH, we have MD Anderson Cancer Center, Memorial Sloan Kettering Cancer Center, and Bard Cancer Institute, that all of them are our partners in all clinical trials. As a global subsidiary, we have a different branch and subsidiary all over the world. As I mentioned, our facility for new drug for ADI-PEG is in Vacaville out of San Francisco, and all our clinical center is in San Diego. And in Asia, we have other big facility for both ADI-PEG and our peptide in Chengdu, China, in Fujian, and also in Taipei. That is our R&D production CDMO as a headquarter in Asia. I would like to give it to our Executive VP of Medical Affairs, Dr. John Bomilowski, to walk you through more detail in our pipeline and our mechanism of action ADI-PEG, and a little bit about the competitive advantage of this product, and then I will back to business development and commercial. John?
Thank you, Hamad. It's my pleasure to speak with you today. I want to focus on our pipeline and demonstrate that our lead drug has made significant progress in its development. First of all, we have our primary indication in malignant pleural mesothelioma, where it's combined in standard of care chemotherapy. We have a positive phase 3 trial. We've submitted our biologics license application to the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, and we have a PDUFA date of June 2026. In terms of clinical evaluation, that our main site in San Diego for clinical affairs has been audited, as well as 3 sites for this trial. And all of those evaluations went well without any major findings. In February, we're scheduled for a 3-week review of our production plant in Northern California, in Vacaville, outside of Sacramento. This drug also is in 2 other registrational trials. The first is with combination of care chemotherapy and radiotherapy in glioblastoma. In addition to this trial, we also have a phase 1/2 trial, which has enrolled all of its 100 patients between Taiwan and North Korea, and we're simply waiting for overall survival on that trial as well. We're looking for an interim data readout for the large registrational trial, which does not enroll in Asia, in contrast to our phase 2 trial. And we anticipate hearing about that in this adaptive trial by April 2026. We have an ongoing trial also, excuse me, that's a global registrational trial in soft tissue sarcoma. This trial continues to enroll. We have approximately 176 out of the 300 enrolled. We will anticipate having all enrolled by the end of the year, or perhaps into the first quarter of 2027. We'll have a futility analysis after the first 100 progression-free events, which we anticipate to be in May 2026. We had a successful phase 1 trial led by MD Anderson in acute myeloid leukemia, where ADI again was combined with standard of care chemotherapy. We saw more responses than what would be anticipated for the chemotherapy doublet alone. And there's tremendous excitement for this triplet now with ADI, and we're planning our phase 3 trial. Excuse me. We also have ongoing trials in hepatocellular carcinoma, in a non-alcoholic hepatosteatosis, and as Hamed mentioned, we also have new second-generation ADI as well. Next slide, please. Next slide, please, Hamed. Yes, thank you. Our core product, pegylated arginine deaminase, is a microbial enzyme designed to treat cancer by depleting arginine, an amino acid that's crucial to the metabolism, biosynthesis, and development of neoplastic growth. Cancer cells tend to have the urea cycle enzyme arginosuccinate synthetase, which is suppressed. The reason for this is not entirely known, but it's thought to be so that cancer cells will not be able to be using aspartate to be able to make arginine and then eventually urea, which is waste, but rather the aspartate is used to make nucleotides. This is actually a physiological process that cancer cells have hijacked. If one looks in the intestine of mice, that one can see, for example, in areas where there is growth of the intestine, which is down in the crypts, there's rapidly proliferation and silencing of arginosuccinate synthetase 1. In contrast, in the crypts, which sit out in the intestine, that those are fully formed and arginosuccinate synthetase is at a normal level. ADI PEG20 degrades arginine to citrulline, and the drug remains well tolerated, which we'll hear a little bit about more in subsequent slides. Next slide, please, Hamed. There's a few competitive advantages of ADI PEG20. It has a high safety profile, low adverse events, and side effects on normal cells. I'm showing the data here from our phase 3 mesothelioma study. Similar results are seen typically in other trials also as well, where the main side effect might be decrease in neutrophil count, perhaps a little more than what would be seen for chemotherapy, but easily treated with growth factor. ADI-PEG20 does not have the life-threatening adverse immune effects that you see with immune checkpoint inhibitors. There's evidence of clinical efficacy that extends beyond cancer into areas such as NASH. We've shown that it can be synergistic with numerous existing drugs, including standard of care in combination therapies. And it's given by intramuscular injection, which reduces treatment time. It has a complex protein structure, which is difficult to circumvent for our patents. And the technology is protected, by numerous patents. Next slide, please. Hamed, I'll turn this back to you in terms of some more of the business development and the multiple areas where our drug is currently developing, and what the potential business aspects of that would be.
Thank you very much, John. So, as you see, we have for all these indications and regarding our pipeline that John mentioned, we have a real huge addressable global market by 2032 based on our market study that it will be about $56 billion only on oncology, that will get the metabolic drugs account for about 13.8% of the global cancer treatment drug market by 2032. And for market size of global metabolic therapy market with key drivers, as you see, 2022, the global metabolic therapy market size was about $115 billion. And based on the projection, will be expected to expand by 5 multiplies by 2032. That will be $530 billion. That it will be market size of global cancer metabolic therapy market, and also non-cancer metabolic therapy market based on our pipeline. So this is to really address the huge market for our ADI-PEG20 as well. In terms of business development partnership activities, I would like to share with you that we made 3 partnerships recently, and you can see that we signed agreement in April, June, and July with 3 pharma company. Pharmaceutical, one of the large pharma company in Europe, but they're gonna to cover for the first indication, that is the MPM, malignant pleural mesothelioma, after getting the FDA approval, and will cover about 30 countries for EMEA region. Tabuk Pharmaceutical, one of the largest pharmaceutical company in Saudi Arabia. And as you know, they are really, based on the recent economic situation, they are really interested to invest in US as well. Tabuk backed by a company called Astra Group that last year they had a revenue about $10 billion. And right now we signed an agreement with Tabuk that is going to have the sales, marketing, commercialization of ADI-PEG in Saudi and other GCC region in the Middle East. And Bioproforma Bago, the other company that we signed for Latin America market, they based in Argentina, and they will gonna cover to other countries in Latin America market as well. We are talking with Abacus Medicine, the other company in Europe. Mostly the focus will be on the other indication like glioblastoma, soft tissue sarcoma, and they are still in due diligence for the key European countries for the partnership with Polaris Pharmaceuticals. We are also, our negotiation with 2 large pharma for now is confidential, but we would be happy to share after placing an NDA in case of your interest. One of them is interested for the whole market of India and Japan. And the second one, that is one of the top 10 large pharma in the US, is interested for AML, acute myeloid leukemia, after we release the promising data in phase 1 of acute myeloid leukemia in our pipeline. So I would like to back to the business unit 2, that, as I mentioned, we have peptide projects in our other facility in Taiwan called Genovir, that is a semaglutide. As you know, is a type 2 diabetes for obesity. And you already know the brand like Ozempic and Wegovy. And as you know, the patent is, will expire on March 2026. So the market is about $100 billion for obesity, as you know, as for GLP-1 products. And it's going to secure project GLP-1 product could reach $90 billion of sale by 2030 for type 2 diabetes and obesity, in which type 2 has a portion of about $40 billion and obesity has about $50 to $55 billion. And based on the market size, we projected that for the two products, semaglutide and tirzepatide, that our company working on that, based on the global sales in 2024, that the total sale will be with $44 billion. So the Polaris market share, we consider really conservative. That will be about 1% of that share, that will reach out to $1 billion by in next 5 years as a regarding in terms of the revenue for these two products. And we already have the really big capacity for these two products. For semaglutide, we have a 9,000 kilogram capacity for API, and for tirzepatide, we will have 600 capacity. And still they are expanding for all dosage form for API, injectable, and also for your information. We also have the oral form of semaglutide that the company are working on, that will be ready by next few years. So our growth strategy, so as John mentioned, we are accelerating regulatory approval and commercial launch of ADI-PEG20 based on the BLA and working with FDA. That is a standard classification of the PDUFA date that will be in June 2026. Hopefully we could start and launch the product in the US market and all over the world. And finally, we would like to accelerate group growth momentum through a merger acquisition strategy, depending on the interest with large pharma to take over the company. And as a summary, so data and path to approval, ADI-PEG20, so the BLA submitted, and we also have filing of EU and UK marketing authorization. Program has fast track and orphan drug designation. And for GBM and soft tissue sarcoma, already the company is processing the registrational trials. And for AML, already phase 1 as a promising data. And we are discussing with some large pharma for a partnership with phase 2 and 3. And in terms of the capacity, our facility in Wachoville, San Francisco, its initial capacity is produce up to 1 million doses of ADI-PEG20. And finally, for commercialization and business development, again, continual focus in 2026 will be on medical affairs, clinical trials, and the BLA with FDA. And PDUFA date in June 2026, and then we'll get a launch. And the peptide project last year revenue was $4 million. And this is our team, management team. You can see that. So John and I on the call, and the rest of the team that in the US and out of the US. We have also had a good advisor and scientific advisor as well from MIT and Harvard. And our chairman, Mr. Samuel Chen, former investor of Zoom, right now he is our major shareholder in the company as well. And the plan for fundraising, so it will be based on the private placement investment. So our major shareholder, as I mentioned, recently invested $50 million. and he's going to invest another $30 million. That totally it will be $80 million. So right now we are raising $30 million as a $1 per share USD, because as I mentioned, the company is a public. So it will be exactly based on the US dollar per $1 per share, and it will be based on the private placement equity investment. So closing date, we have soft closing date by early February, and the lockup period will be 3 years. We already have term sheet for this $50 million, and we can disclose with any interested investors after placing NDA. Thank you so much for your attention.
Great. Well, thank you very much. I'm going to ask you to stop sharing your screen and we will get into some of the questions that have come in. So, what specific FDA feedback to date gives you the highest confidence in approval under the standard review pathway? And are there any remaining material regulatory risks that could come up and derail that?
I'll take that question. We have gone through those 4 clinical evaluations, which is certainly, very positive. And the next thing we have is our manufacturing plant evaluation in February. We've had a number of former FDA officials as consultants who've been working diligently with us in preparation for that 3-week audit. So we're very confident that things will hopefully go well with that. We can't say for certain, how the FDA will finally review on this. We don't know what will happen with the evaluation there, but we remain hopeful that there will not be any problems at the plant there also as well. So we remain cautiously optimistic, but until we would get an approval, we simply would not have it. Thank you.
Thank you. How are pricing, reimbursement, and market access discussions progressing, particularly in the US?
So regarding the pricing, we already had an external partner that worked with us, and we, based on the research that we did, and we have a very good information put it in our data room. We talked with top oncologists in the US and compared the product. And in terms of the market access, also we talked with different group. I can share for pricing based on our research and in compared to other competitors in the market. So right now, for during the 6 months treatment for patient MPM patients, the cost will be about $156,000. Each month, patient need 8 vials, and it means that the price per vial in the US will be something about $3,250 per vial. But for the reimbursement in the US and other countries, we're still working. For example, for 3 pharma company that I mentioned, like Tabuk in Saudi, Erkim in Europe, and Bioproforma Bago in Argentina, they have, as you know, different reimbursement and healthcare strategy in their own country. So the price gonna be changed, and also reimbursement strategy will be changed. But overall, as I mentioned, the price in the US, we believe that we're considering $3,250 per vial, because the product is a vial, is an injection, and 8 vial need for each patient per month.
Great, thank you. What is the commercialization strategy? Direct sales, partnerships, hybrid, and how does that impact margins?
Sure. So we have a different business model depending on the interest from the pharma company. So, for example, for Tabuk and Erkim and Bioproforma Bago is a direct sales. We assign them as our exclusive partner for a specific indication, for example, MPM, and they have the right to sell market and commercial the product in their own countries and assign territories that we already, assigned the agreement. But for the US, it's different because we are going to have a signed partnership with large pharma like Pfizer, Merck, the top 10 that we are already discussing with them. So if we give them the exclusivity for sales, so it will be, the sales, marketing, and the right of the asset when we get to those large pharma, and we will receive the royalty, milestone, upfront payment as well, depending on the, payment and the deal strategy. But we are open and flexible with large pharma.
Thank you. And what differentiates ADI PEG20 from the other metabolic or targeted cancer therapies competing for the same patient populations? And why has Polaris succeeded in advancing this asset when others have struggled?
ADI PEG20 is different in that it's a particular type of metabolic therapy. And this metabolic therapy, in terms of arginine degradation, is based on a microbial enzyme, arginine deaminase. That other approaches with arginine deprivation have chosen to use human arginase as the primary focus to go ahead, or non-human arginase. Although human arginase is human, it causes the production of polyamines, which are known to be pro-proliferative. So it's actually not surprising that that drug and its relatives have failed going forward. So at the present time, that pegylated arginine deaminase is really the only serious drug in the arginine deprivation market. It's clearly different from other amino acid degrading enzymes, such as asparaginase, which has been used for over 30 years for the treatment of acute lymphocytic leukemia. And it's not a tyrosine kinase inhibitor or that type of molecule. And it's not an immune oncology agent like Keytruda, for example. So it's clearly different in those other ways and its mechanisms of action. And part of its mechanisms of action that result in the lower number of adverse events is that the citrulline itself that is eventually produced in normal cells can then be rerouted back to make arginine, so that part of the urea cycle remains intact in normal cells. So those are key differentiators from other amino acid degrading enzymes, especially those that will break down arginine, and also other major drugs on the market, including immune oncology agents.
Thank you. What milestones will this particular capital raise get the company through? Is it approval, launch, cash flow, break even? What will be the overall use of proceeds?
So yeah, great question. So for right now, as I mentioned, our major shareholder already invested $50 million, as an internal existing investor. And this capital mostly will be expanding the pipeline and our operation and clinical trials as well. And because we are raising another $30 million from external investors, the two reasons: expanding our commercialization, because we are preparing for that. And also we need, external value from really interesting investor to bring the value to company as well. This is the policy that our major shareholder mentioned. And if investors coming for $30 million, he's going to insert another $20 million. That totally get $100 million.
And how much dilution should new investors realistically expect relative to the value inflection points ahead?
This is the question that I came back to our team internally, the major shareholder. If is there an interest from the person that asked this question, we can place an NDA, and then I can, schedule a call with our major shareholder executive team to respond to the typical question. Sure.
Great, thank you. Any plans to go public in the US?
Of course, Polaris Group is a company that the company already public in Taiwan Stock Exchange. For the US, as I mentioned, we are first of all we are planning maybe after we really expand and get the FDA approval for other indication as well, because for other indication is a really multi-billion dollars market opportunity like a GBM, soft tissue sarcoma, AML. And let's say if, for example, the large companies like, for example, Amgen or Pfizer or the other want to be partner or take over the company, so the asset, gonna be take over, and it will be $1 billion deal. For public, the plan, the company is open, as I know, but maybe in the next 5 to 8 years.
Thank you. You talked a little bit about the raise. If you could just kind of finish that off. This is our last question. What you're seeking, and what is the smallest amount that you would accept from an individual investor?
Of course. So I talked to our major shareholder. As I said, he was the former investor, a big investor with Zoom application and many other biotech and medtech companies. So far, he invested in the company during the last 10 years about $350 million. And recently in December, just in December, he invested $50 million. He told us for raising $30 million from external investor, he preferred to get the money from maybe a couple of investors, so that just maybe each of them like put it $5 million, $6 million to wrap up the round, right? But if really we have an individual investor, angel investor who are really interested, I believe the minimum will be something about $500 to $1 million. But we can check again. But this is the range, yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. And thank you everyone for joining today. Thank you for the questions. I do want to point out to the audience that if you want to be connected to the team here, please reach out to me. Everyone out there has my email address. In turn, they will have all of your information and will be reaching out as well. And Hamid, I want to turn it back over to you for any final words before we close out.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Callie. We really appreciate the interest that people have here. And I think one of the things to really focus on is the future of where we're heading, where the mesothelioma market may not be that large, but the other markets in soft tissue, sarcoma and glioblastoma are much, much larger. And there also is very encouraging data in acute myeloid leukemia. So there's certainly potential for greater growth with ADI-PEG20 in these markets, and hopefully they can be expanded even into other indications in the future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone.
And
have a great. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for all and the interest in Polaris, and we're really excited. If any question or feedback, we'll in touch with Kelly, and would be happy to answer more in details. Thank you very much again for your time and attention.
Thank you, and have a great day.